So Night of Champions is over, and quite frankly, my predictions could not have been really much more off the mark, really. So, but I'm not going to complain about that because actually, I felt that this was a pleasant surprise. Actually, I'm really, I've said it before in the videos. I think that sometimes I think WWE has had periods where I felt like it has been like a little bit too safe, a little bit too predictable. So when they kind of swerve my expectations. I think that that's actually really a net positive. I really do. So yeah, I was actually overall I kind of enjoyed this show. I thought that they were like I said, they really kind of subverted my expectations quite a bit. I'm gonna go basically through this review on the match by match basis. I'm going to tell you kind of like what I liked about it, what I maybe didn't like about it, where I think things could go kind of from here on out as we kind of go on this road to SummerSlam. So yeah, we'll basically open up with the opening match, which was Obafemi against Jey Uso for King of the Ring. And I think from a match perspective, if I don't feel from a technical perspective, I thought that this match was pretty standard. I thought that it was a pretty I don't think that it was we had Jey Uso kind of getting some serious offenses here. I don't think that it was necessarily really one that necessarily I think that it was kind of designed to kind of try and make Jey Uso kind of look strong, although I didn't necessarily think that was necessarily how it came off. I don't think Obafemi ended up looking particularly strong here. This wasn't like a squash match. This was a dominant match. So, but yeah, all of that kind of stuff about the match itself is just going to be kind of forgotten about, because the main thing really that people are going to be talking about, and I think for a lot of people what is going to make people happy, is that we did have Obafemi picking up a win, which for me was I felt like the correct decision. Because although I wasn't really confident that they were actually going to do this, I kind of had this feeling that they were going to do Jey Uso winning King of the Ring. So yeah, I'm so glad that they kind of did Obafemi picking up the win here. So what this means going forward is ultimately I think that we are just going to basically have Obafemi going after the Bloodline and going after Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. I think that is just I just think that makes perfect sense. I mean, because you basically just you basically have Obafemi finding himself in this position by beating Jey Uso in the final King of the Ring, so that just puts him in that kind of Bloodline ecosystem already. I think that the dynamics and the stature just kind of work. I think that the whole idea of just having Roman Reigns, a tribal chief, against the ruler, I think that is just something that you can really sell. And I think that if you really want to kind of push Obafemi and strap a real rocket to him, I think maybe kind of having him go up against Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, whilst Roman is trying to kind of go around being Thanos collected all the Infinity Stones and kind of trying to assemble, the biggest and strongest bloodline that's ever existed, and Obafemi kind of going up against that. I think that you can really utilize that to really push Obafemi. So I absolutely think that is kind of the right decision here. I do have some concerns, though. I do have some concerns about how maybe this works out and how this is all kind of booked, because I think quite myself included, but I know I definitely wasn't alone. I know a lot of us were expecting Brock Lesnar to get involved in this match. And I think that I'm glad that obviously he didn't, but at the same time, the fact that he didn't kind of worries me slightly, because I do kind of feel like we have potentially kind of like three scenarios here. Okay, so scenario one is basically that we essentially have Obafemi against Brock Lesnar, and we do that as a kind of like a stop-off point at like on a Saturday night's main event before SummerSlam. I think that's fine. I don't think it necessarily, if you were going to do that. I don't know if you would like pull the trigger on Brock Lesnar's retirement. I don't know if you necessarily would make it a retirement match now, because I'm just not sure if that kind of that's kind of a right pedestal to do it. In some ways that would have I mean, I think that in some ways they've already passed the point of no return from this, because obviously they've already done the whole retirement thing, and we've had Brock Lesnar come back. So I think it kind of doubles down whichever way they do it, because it's sort of that diminishing returns type thing. But yeah, so yeah, but I wouldn't hate it, right? So that's one scenario we have, where we basically kind of build towards Oba and Roman, but we basically just kind of like have this sort of little side feud before then with Oba and Brock Lesnar. Okay, the second scenario we have is that we basically just end up having Obafemi pull double duty on SummerSlam, with SummerSlam being a 2-night event this year. Now, I think at that day you could absolutely make that work. It's probably the one I want to see the most, but it is a big gamble, right? I do think that it's something they need to proceed with caution over, because especially considering that it seems like ever since like WWE kind of like went over to Netflix, and it seems like WWE over the last 2 or 3 years have just been hit with the worst luck in terms of injuries and stuff like that. So I think that obviously having Oba pull double duty at SummerSlam is a big gamble. I mean, if they pull it off, then I think it would be absolutely worth it, because I think what better way to, really put the exclamation point on Obafemi and, just make him look like this big dominant force. I don't think that, I don't think that there's any better way to do that than maybe have him pull double duty and him just, kind of go through that 2-night main event. I think that could absolutely work. The third scenario, and this is the one I really do not like, is that we basically just essentially kind of shelve the whole Brock Lesnar thing. We, on the run up to SummerSlam, we just totally focus on Obafemi against Roman Reigns build, and then basically when we get to SummerSlam, we basically then have Brock Lesnar returning and costing Obafemi the title to kind of provide that catalyst for that third match, but also give Roman Reigns that kind of get out of jail free card a little bit. And that is what I don't want to see, and I don't think that there's a lot of fans that kind of necessarily want to see that. So I do think that would be a mistake. So I'm kind of hoping and praying that they don't do that. But yeah, here and now, I'm just happy that we have Obafemi and we have, him as the king of the ring. And obviously, I'm really looking forward to seeing him going up against Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. I think that could be absolutely great. So next up we have Io Sky against Liv Morgan for the Queen of the Ring. And this was basically the one I felt maybe was the most underwhelming in terms of the length, right? I thought the match itself was fine, but yeah, I was a bit surprised. I haven't got the match times, but it felt to me that this maybe was like a shortest match. I don't know if I was true, but it just like in real time, like watching it live, that's kind of a little bit how it felt. I mean, maybe Oba and Jay was kind of like maybe slightly shorter, but for in that case, like because the build that or the overall effects you're going for Oba, I think that you can kind of justify it. Whereas here, I think think you could have got a little bit more out of it. But I think that, again, like Roba, I think Io Sky winning was the correct decision. Like I said, it wasn't something that, again, I kind of felt like like deep inside that they weren't necessarily going to do. I thought there was a bit more connective dots with with Liv Morgan, and maybe like kind of going after Rhea Ripley, and you've got that connective tissue to Io Sky, and stuff like that. Whereas with Io Sky winning, we basically just kind of essentially just run this back at SummerSlam, which is basically what's happening. It was confirmed after the match that that's what was going to happen. In a way that having now, in a way, I was glad that they just announced it straight away and they didn't treat it like they treated with when Liv Morgan was kind of had the opportunity to go up against Stephanie Valkyrie, and it was kind of obvious that she was always going to go after Stephanie Valkyrie because they were already in a feud, but they drawed it out for weeks and weeks over who she was going to, and it's like we all know who she's going to, of course she's going to pick Stephanie Valkyrie. So so why are you drawing it out? So I'm glad that they didn't do that, but also I do kind of think that maybe them kind of just running it back and the guy saying I'll see you at SummerSlam kind of accentuated a bit why this was like a bit of a bad idea and why this just kind of doubles down on everything, because it's sort of like, this is a match we're getting at SummerSlam. Yes, this match that you've just seen. So I think that it's a bit silly in that respect. It does seem that the whole idea of putting Liv Morgan in this tournament right from the get-go was a bad idea. It seemed like it was almost like off the back of Stephanie Valkyrie's injury. Really Creative just didn't have another plan for Io Sky with a title change, in which case I just think it is just unbelievable. It was this match was preceded with Danhausen coming out, and basically he had a conversation with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan wasn't happy because she felt that Danhausen owed Judgment Day a lot of money. This resulted in Danhausen cursing Liv Morgan. So it seemed to be also that they were kind of like now utilising Danhausen's curse as a way of kind of protecting Liv Morgan in defeat a little bit, which I don't think is necessarily the right way to kind of like facilitate it. I'm not necessarily a fan of them utilising Danhausen's curse to precede matches that we're about to have. I don't want it to I don't necessarily think that Danhausen delivering these curses to wrestlers before they have a match to generate that reaction of, oh my god, they're going to like lose this. Like, I don't think that's necessarily always the effect that you want. Though that, like, prior to Danhausen coming to WWE, obviously there's a bit of a trope with a curse where the curse doesn't always work, but it always seems to be like effective in since he came to WWE. So obviously WWE created can do whatever, utilize it whatever way they like, but it seems to be it's coming to like that allure now. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like you could sort of you could kind of subvert people's expectations with it now, but it seems to be like similar to like it would be kind of like a question of who's going to break the curse in a way, like you could breaking the Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania or whatever, and I don't think that's necessarily the right way to kind of like utilize it. So yeah, I'm not necessarily like a big fan of that going forward. So then we had Seth Rollins against Brock Lesnar in this steel cage match. And honestly, I really liked this match. I was looking forward to this match, and I think that it absolutely delivered. I think that, we got all the weapons, we got kind of sticks and chairs and tables and all of that. Sometimes I think they're introduced a little bit too soon, because I think that sometimes because they're such a regular feature in WWE matches. Sometimes the kind of the 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 kind of structure of the steel cage and all of that and the dangers of the steel cage. I think all of that kind of that sort of like intimidating presence, that was the word I was looking for that kind of like intimidating presence, it kind of gets a little bit lost. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think there were like little spots here. I thought there were like loads of really kind of gnarly spots here. We had Brock Lesnar delivering a Frankenstein for Seth Rollins to kind of like land on the chairs. I thought that was like kind of neat. We had like blood here. We basically had Brock Lesnar's ball of blood. This was happened as the two were balling on top of the cage, and then seemed like Brock Lesnar, Bron Breakker was getting the better of Seth Rollins in that exchange. So it looked like he was about to escape, and Seth Rollins kind of like pulled him back, looked like kind of like gouged his eye, and then he delivered this suplex from the top, like through this table, which was just an absolute crazy spot. Um, so so I really enjoyed this match. The only thing that I kind of like is really questionable about it, which I think is like what people are going to find most questionable about it, is a decision to have Seth Rollins win here. Because I can kind of understand it in a way that, especially the way that this match was executed, the fact that just before the finisher, we basically had Seth Rollins going to deliver this stomp, and Bron Breakker kind of put his hands up and was like, tried to kind of like stop it in almost a kind of submissive kind of fashion right before Seth Rollins just delivers this kind of like avalanche stomp to get the 1, 2, 3, and yeah, so it very much feels like it is kind of the end of the feud. So in that kind of sense, I get it. I get the whole idea of Seth Rollins being the babyface here, and him kind of like feeling like he, in order to progress, he had to kind of like put the vision behind him and all of that. I understand where they're kind of going with that. But the fact that we had Seth Rollins win here, and the fact that we had Seth Rollins win their one-on-one before, I just don't think necessarily that's the right call, especially seeing as we got this obviously dynamic with Seth Rollins being the veteran, and we got Bron Breakker being the up and comer, and not just any kind of like up and comer. I think you can put him alongside Obafemi, because they are both kind of being portrayed as these big monstrous like fearful beings who be just big wrecking balls, and who are just going to kind of like destroy you. And I actually think I really want to see Obafemi and Bron Breakker go head to head sometime in the future, but we're way off it, and I'm kind of like getting off track. But yeah, I kind of like feel like Bron Breakker should be kind of given the same treatment. I don't think we necessarily have to have this thing where the babyface has to win the feud. I think it just seems to be what we kind of got here was the pusher Bron Breakker being sacrificed for the sake of just kind of like inciting that sort of like happy feelings, in our tummies of a good guy kind of winning. Do you know what I mean? Which I don't think necessarily I don't think the ends justifies the means necessarily in that respects. So yeah, I do question the decision. I'm not really sure where Seth Rollins goes from here. I think at Bron Breakker, I think we need to really do start to push him, and I think maybe an element of that, we need to break him away from the vision. I think we need him to kind of go on his own and go on his own kind of tirade. I think that could be a good catalyst for him. Seth Rollins, I'm not really sure what we do with him, because obviously it's been kind of like teased he's going to go after Roman Reigns. I think that is absolutely a feud that makes 100% sense, especially like with the history and everything. But the thing is, because we're like looking at Oba and Roman, that would suggest that's that feud with Seth is getting kind of like pushed back, especially if you're kind of gonna put over against Brock in that sort of like en route as well. Do you know what I mean? I think obviously it just gets a little bit too messy. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they do with Seth, and they need to do something because yeah, they've been painting Braun Breaker as kind of like the future type thing, and now Seth Rollins is like 2-0 against him. So you need to justify that in some way. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, obviously we were kind of like saying that when Gunther retired John Cena as well, and you know, look what they kind of done to him. So I don't know. I don't know really what they do with Seth Rollins going forward, but I hope they kind of find something for him. So yeah, go forward. The next match we had was Trick Williams against Ricky Saints, and I think the choreography of this I really liked. I think that it was executed in a way that to make Ricky Saints look really strong. I think that was really important. Obviously, since Ricky Saints is call up, he hasn't particularly over with the crowd in America. So whereas he got a bit more of a buzz here, which was nice. I'm glad this. I've got to give a shout out to the Saudi crowd, who I thought were fantastic throughout this whole event. I think that they really kind of like gave some real atmosphere to proceedings. I thought that they were just fantastic here. So yeah, a big shout out to the Saudi crowd there, because yeah, they absolutely came in full voice. I think that it's as a nitpick, I wonder about just as a nitpick, I would have probably questioned the position of this match on the card. I would have probably put this after maybe the Queen of the Ring or something like that, just to pace a little bit better, because just of the way this event was structured, we had obviously the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. Then we had the steel cage with Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. It was like bang, 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 bang. And then we kind of like had the two, I don't want to say least important thing, but the two matches. Then, you know, but because that sounds kind of disparagingly, but just sort of comparatively speaking, where and I understand they kind of wanted to give that breather before the main event, but yeah, just with that sort of personal preference of that kind of like rise and fall, I would have liked them to kind of like spread it out a little bit more evenly. But that's just me that's just a little nitpick. That was just a little preference. But on the whole, guys, like I said, yeah, I like the fact that I like the way that this match was executed. Yeah, we had Ricky Saints doing some really heelish things. So we had the Eddie Guerrero kind of like spot with a with a kendo stick with a little Yardie. This basically ended up again like little Yardie sent to the back. Yeah, so yeah, but I think that but yeah, so I kind of like felt like yeah, in my predictions video, I basically predicted that we were going to do like a triple threat with Carmelo getting involved, and maybe that's when we kind of change about. It was one victory that I did get right, but I did predict Carmelo was going to get involved, so I can, you know, take full points of it, but yeah, I'll take it. So we basically got yeah, but I predicted that Carmelo was going to get they were going to do something with Carmelo going forward, and I still think in a kind of way I kind of hope that they do continue to move towards maybe a triple threat between these guys, and the reason why I say that is because I just don't think if they kind of just put a focal point on just having Trick Williams against Carmelo Hayes now, and they build towards that, which they could always kind of do. I mean, because we basically in the post match. But here we had Lil Yachty coming back and then basically attacking Ricky Saints with a kendo stick and then delivering the people's elbow, stuff like that. So I think there's enough cause here for Ricky Saints to kind of like come back at Trick Williams with a bee in his body, and then Carmelo Hayes kind of goes, well, hang on, you had your chance back over the line, and then maybe they have like Carmelo and Ricky Saints as a match on SmackDown to determine the number one contenders. Then Carmelo and like. I think I can see that. The concern I have is that I think that if they do that, then I could see Ricky Saints being one of these talents that falls into the void a little bit, which is a concern I have, especially with that SmackDown midcard, especially with SmackDown kind of going back down to 2 hours. I do kind of fear that he's going to get a little bit lost. So yeah, I kind of like hope that maybe they kind of keep the three kind of like infused and maybe move to like a triple threat, and then at SummerSlam you could maybe potentially have Carmelo or Ricky Saints win, and then but yeah, because I think if you don't include Ricky Saints in this somewhere, or give him a reason to kind of stay in this feud, and you just focus on Trick and Carmelo, I don't know what Ricky does. I really don't. So I could see, especially like I said, with SmackDown being reduced to 2 hours soon, I could see him kind of getting lost in the void a little bit. Next up, we had Jade Cargill against Tiffany Stratton. This was kind of the most generic match of the night. I kind of think we kind of like figured that it was always going to be that. We had interferences here. This was the only match where we did have some interferences here, surprisingly, which was another like pleasant surprise overall. We basically had Michin and BFAB get involved to kind of like help Jade Cargill. We then had Chelsea Green kind of appear from underneath the ring and kind of take them out. She then Chelsea Green then picks up the US title, presumably with the intention of passing it to Tiffany Stratton to use as a weapon. But when she picks up the US title, she just kind of becomes besotted by it, like she became like Gollum in Lord of the Rings or something. And this Jade and Mitch and Beef had to kind of get their offense. This kind of like left the US title kind of like just inside the ring. Then Jade Cargill went to grab the US title to use that as a weapon herself, and Charlotte Flair appears and pulls it back. So yeah, I think you got kind of like even numbers here. I think there's little stuff, and this really Charlotte Flair basically hit Jade Cargill with it, allowing Tiffany Stratton to deliver the prettiest moonsault and pick up the 1, 2, 3 and retain. So like I said, I think the numbers are even here, so I think if you can do they'll play about here on SmackDown, you can do sort of like 6 women tag teams match. I think ultimately with Chelsea Green trying to buddy up to Tiffany Stratton, I think you could do sort of tag teams between Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton taking on Michin and BFAB. I think you can sort of move Charlotte Flair and Jade Cargill into the singles feud. I do kind of just think that they should be driven though by a title shot. So it does make me wonder about the injury to Rhea Ripley and the time frame for that. So it does make me wonder, maybe we could be looking at a potential where Rhea Ripley does vacate the title, and then we basically just have Charlotte Flair and Jade Cargill competing for that, maybe. Again, like Carmelo and Ricky Saints, Alexa Bliss is in that SmackDown, and I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit worried about Alexa Bliss could also kind of get a little bit lost in the mix here, because yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure where Alexa Bliss fits into all of this now. Um, so yeah, basically, I'm really hoping they do figure out something. But yeah, with how SmackDown has been booked, with it being reduced to 2 hours, and that mid card, I think our mid card is in a real precarious position. So yeah, people like Alexa Bliss, Ricky Sainz, Carmelo Hayes, I'm a bit worried for them. I hope that I'm wrong and they find something to do and they all really flourish, because I think they are all like really valuable talents to any company, and I think any wrestling company should be just like clinging on to them for their worth. And utilizing them, because they are all just fantastic talents to have. But yeah, so I hope they kind of figure it out, but I am a little bit kind of like worried about it. So then we get on to our main event, which was a triple threat match between Cody Rhodes defending against Gunther and Sami Zayn for the undisputed title. And I just thought that this match, right from start to finish, was absolutely fantastic. We got lots of kind of back and forth here. We had basically this throughout. We kind of like had this little bit of a tease where maybe I started to believe maybe Gunther was going to pick up a win, and because we basically had Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn basically focusing on each other so much, I thought that maybe we were heading down this sort of like little trope that's often WWE likes to do in triple threats, where basically two kind of like get so kind of like engrossed in each other that the other one just kind of picks them off and picks up a win. I thought that was where I thought that was a real viability going into kind of the latter stages of this match, and it seemed like that was what was going to happen, where we basically had Gunther delivering this sleeper hold to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes kind of like passes out, or if he is about to drop his arm, when Sami Zayn catches it and won't let it go. So yeah, basically we then had a load of like reversals, but the way that the finale was executed, I think that was the greatest bit, because I think that really accentuated the shock value, because basically there was a real subversion of your expectation here, at least for me, and then though I wasn't the only one who felt like it, because we basically had, going into the final stages of this match, we had this spot where Sami Zayn is basically delivering this sleeper hold to Gunther, I think it is. We have Cody Rhodes intercepted. He puts them both in this kind of like a double crossroads that delivers this crossroads to both of them. This sends Gunther outside of the ring, and then we basically have like Cody Rhodes about to deliver a second crossroads, and we thought, here we go, here it is, here's game, and then all of a sudden we just basically have Sami Zayn reverse it into the most devastating move in all the sports entertainment, the surprise roll up, and just pick up a 1, 2, 3. And I just thought it was such a big shock, and it was elevated by the way it was executed, but also the fact that we had Cody Rhodes lose the title due to a roll up as well. I think that just was kind of like, I just thought it was brilliant. I think that Sami Zayn celebrating with the Saudi crowd was absolutely fantastic overall. I did predict in my predictions that they were going to play it safe with Cody Rhodes retaining here. Yeah, I mean, just because they're like, I should have entertained the idea of Sami Zayn winning more. I mean, I know that that's kind of like on me, because obviously it was kind of like right there when we have basically like from Sami Zayn's entrance here, but you know, it did it all kind of like fall into place. I was like, of course, Sami Zayn is gonna be totally over in Saudi. Like, I don't know why I didn't look at that angle before, but so yeah, I think it's a really great and bold decision. It's I know that SmackDown needs that real shot in the arm, and I think that this provides that. It's got me intrigued to tune into SmackDown again going forward. So yeah, I think that it's a real good, bold, positive, experimental thing to do, and I'm just here all for it. And I think, there was a time when Sami Zayn wouldn't have even been in the conversation, so it's just a fantastic moment. But yeah, where we kind of go from here, I do kind of like wonder. I think maybe I kind of hope that Sami Zayn holds on to the title for quite a bit, or at least he does, to the point where he doesn't lose it, kind of like on his first, like SummerSlam is his first title defense, and then Cody just wins it back. I don't think that this should be one where in a matter of weeks, the title switch back, because I think that just kind of cheapens this little moment. I think, I think that if you are basically want to do something really bold and really experimental, and you just by kind of like circumstantially, this is kind of like a real good time to kind of pull the trigger on that. I think that is one thing, but I think that it's sort of to just kind of like have him win the title just to create this like audience pleasing moment, and then just sort of go, okay, we're away from there now, so we can just kind of like hit the reset back. I think that just cheapens it a little bit. So yeah, I kind of like hope that they at least do get a little bit of mileage out of this Sami Zayn run. I think that maybe we're not entirely done with this. Maybe we could potentially have gone for coming back and basically yeah, we could be doing something there. I think Cody Rhodes, like obviously with Oba going after Roman Reigns, I think that kind of frees these three people up to continue to do something. It continues to keep Cody Rhodes in that sort of title contention picture. Also, and I think that Sami Zayn winning here also kind of reiterates my confidence that we are just going to get Oba going after Roman, because I don't think Oba going after Sami Zayn has nowhere near the same appetite. So yeah, I kind of like wonder where. I wonder about where Randy Orton, when he returns, is going to fit into all this as well, because in my prediction today, this was the main argument I made for maybe them playing it safe for Cody Rhodes, because Randy Orton is that ever looming thing, and he's kind of like totally focused. So I kind of wonder how they're going to work out. I have a little bit of a fear that when Randy Orton returns, the whole like punt kick to Cody Rhodes is just going to be a forgotten thing, and they're just going to hit kind of like the reset button, which I kind of like hoping they really don't. I think that maybe we could maybe run Cody and Sami Zayn back at SummerSlam, and then maybe that's when Randy comes back. Maybe he screws over Cody, but then obviously he's coming back for number 15. So I don't really know, but I'm all here for it anyway, because yeah, I am intrigued about where it's going to go, and I think like I said on my previous reviews, I think that ultimately that sometimes is an important factor in judging the success or failure of these events as well. Where you can just look at it from the perspective of, has this got me pumped up? Has this got me intrigued? Has this got me interested in checking out next week's Raw, next week's SmackDown, and all that? And the answer to that is yes, it absolutely has got me curious. So yeah, on the whole, guys, I thought that this was a really solid show. I really do. I think that this was, I really think that it's a real positive on just how much they did subvert my expectations here. I can't remember the last time where we got a WWE pay-per-view where my predictions were so off. So yeah, again, I think that that's a really good thing. I think that it was, I really like to be wrong on quite a few of these things. I really like the fact that WWE could subvert my expectations in such a way in this one, whilst also constantly delivering these little fan servicey moments as well. So I thought that it really came together really well. Like I said, it's got me really intrigued for how they're gonna work everything. Yeah. So on the whole, guys, I thought that this was a really strong pay-per-view from WWE. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. So I'll be really intrigued to know what you guys thought about this pay-per-view. So please feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your thoughts were and about what your fan theories are maybe going forward. All of our fun stuff. Let me know down in the comment section. And yeah, please, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like the video, share the video, get a like and subscribe. And yeah, as always, I will see you guys in the next video. You guys take care.